Please help me welcome the lady that's making crazy good happen, Nina Vaca. Make it crazy, girl.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction, Miss Gabrielle. And thank you to the whole cast and crew, because I know it takes an entire community to put an event like this on. We need to give them a huge round of applause. Miss Paula, Miss Tracy. Honestly, I'm super excited to be here. I am honored to be here. I can't think of a better place to be than in a room full of dynamic, entrepreneurial women and a couple of men. I'm really excited. I think that men being here actually plays a really big part in the ascension of women. When we talk about the ascension of women, we need to include those men in there, don't we, ladies? That's exactly right. So let's give the men a round of applause for being here. That's about courage. So I do want to start with a disclaimer. I am not a professional speaker. I am an ambassador, but I'm here in peace. You'll hear more about that. I'm not a professional speaker. I'm here in my own will, with my hat in my hand, my heart in my hand, to tell you a little bit about my personal journey. And I really want to tell you my story, but I'm going to give you an abridged version of my story because I want to spend less time talking about me, and I want to spend more time talking about you. I feel that it only took me 23 years to become an overnight sensation. But the reality is that you and I are probably a lot more alike than we are different. I am living proof that anything could happen in this country. I am an ordinary woman with extraordinary shoes. No, I am an ordinary woman with an extraordinary life, proving that in this country anything is possible. I come from super humble beginnings. I am just like you. I promise you, by the end of my remarks, you will literally be saying to yourself, and I hope you will, because this is my goal. If she can do it, say it with me, I can too. That is my only goal, is to prove to you that you can do it. So what I'd like to talk about is about my personal story, but mostly what I've learned throughout the 23 years. It's been 23 hard-fought, hard-earned years. I've got a story. My story is about courage. It's about resiliency. And it started in Los Angeles, California. My mother and father immigrated to this country, and they became entrepreneurs. You see, when you come as an immigrant, you don't have that connection. You can't connect, get a job through a connection. You're starting at the ground floor. And so I had a front row seat to failure is not an option. My mother gave birth to 6 children. She is 4'11", and I look up to her. This is a woman who came to this country. By the time she was 20, she was married. By the time she was 30, cubby full of children, and by the time she was 40, she was a widow. And so this is one of the most resilient women I know, and probably my best mentors. The best business experience, the best business advice I got from her. And I'm going to share that with you today. But this is who I grew up with. I had a very humble beginning, grew up in Los Angeles, California, and I became a student of entrepreneurship. My mother and father, and this is a really important message, ladies, they never hid their problems from me. They let me see them cry. That was an incredible empowerment for me to watch my parents fail and fall down over and over again. They would fall and they would pick themselves back up. And sometimes we'd have money and sometimes we wouldn't. Sometimes we'd stay in our home. Sometimes we'd have to move. Sometimes we'd have a fancy car. Sometimes it was repossessed. Hello, the life of an entrepreneur. And so I grew up being grateful for everything that I have and working for everything that I have. And today, nothing has ever been handed to me. I am not afraid to get in there and work for every single thing that we have accomplished together. I've learned the power of entrepreneurship, but mostly the power of resiliency, and I'm not afraid to show my children. Ladies, do not be afraid to show your children how hard it is to be an entrepreneur, because there's nothing more powerful than that silent example. I promise you, they will grow up to take those seeds and plant it themselves. I know that I did. Nothing could have prepared me. I grew up with family, faith, and hard work. I lost my father when I was 17. And he was circumstances called. I don't even know how to say it. I lost my father when I was 17, and my family was devastated. My father had a chain of travel agencies, and there was a robbery. And I was 17, and I had to assume my father's business. So I've been in business for a very, very long time. And that year, I learned a lot about people. And I learned a valuable lesson that year that my father taught me. Treat the CEO of the company with the same level of respect as the janitor. In fact, today is a really emotional day for me when I walked into this conference. Because you see, I started my business on my living room floor, but my first office was Lincoln Plaza, the 32nd floor of this building right here. And if you're wondering, the concierge's name is Cassie, and she's still here. And, you know, there's a story there. Why do I know her name 23 years later? It's all about how you treat people. True character is how you treat people that can do nothing for you. And so I'm saying that do not be a hammer looking for nails. Do not look at people and say, you're a customer? No. Are you a customer? No. You're a customer? No. Value people for who they are, because you never know when things can turn around and turn your way. A beautiful example of that is I was a member and I was a volunteer of so many organizations just like this. I dove into the ecosystem. The best advice I got is hang out with people that you respect and that you admire and that you want to be like, right? So I went out and I started hanging out with women-owned businesses, and I started looking at them and saying, hey, I got this. I can do that. And I started learning and mentoring and all those things. I met a young man named Jordan Cowman. He wasn't my customer. He wasn't my client. Don't be a hammer looking for nails. Value people for who they are. Who would have thought that 15 years later, after meeting him at a conference, he would be my nominator? Today, I was honored 3 years ago to be the very first woman on the board of Cinemark in the history of the company to take a rightful place in the boardroom. That was a 15-year relationship, ladies. 15-year relationship, 15 years. Now here's the part that I think deserves the applause. That was 3 years ago. It's not that I got there. It's that today, there's not just one, not two, but there are 3 women on that board, right? So the message opened doors for other women. It's such a critical message. So I started the business. This was my first office space. Life was good. I was young and single and very confident. And it's impossible for me to tell you 23 years of ups and downs. It's impossible for me to tell you everything. I'm going to go through the highlights of 23 years. I'm going to tell you that I know what carrying a payroll feels like, ladies. I know what being a working mother and an entrepreneur feels like. I know what it's like to have 4 children in 6 years. I know what it's like to have your family members depend on you. I know what it's like to be the CEO and have the weight on the world on your shoulders. And I also know that you're going to be okay. I almost went out of business after 9/11. In fact, we had a bomb scare in this very building. We were all ushered to the cafeteria, and I was pregnant as a house, and I thought, now if the bomb goes off in the building, the cafeteria's attached, right? Whose idea was that? I walked downstairs, and I went to the Fairmont and caught a cab and went home. The next day, I had my baby. So, 2 days. Katerina was born 2 days after 9/11. It was a traumatic time for our business. It was the height of the dot-com era. By the way, let me tell you what I do for a living. By the way, I do business with the Fortune 500. I provide IT labor to companies like Capital One. So we got to give them a round of applause because they talk the talk and walk the walk. They're not just sponsoring these things. They're actually doing business with women business owners. And so where I was going with that is I started the business. Life was good. I got married. I had 2 babies. Life was fantastic. until 9/11. Sometimes you wake up and things change. Sometimes you wake up and things are completely different. The life of an entrepreneur, up, down, up, down. Be prepared, ladies. Be prepared. It's in the good times that you have to prepare for the bad times. It's not just in the bad times. It's like, holy crap, we're going out of business. You've got to be prepared for that. Always be prepared. It's in the good times that you've got to prepare for the bad times. I woke up, 9/11 happened, our company was going out of business. Always see the glass half full. An entrepreneur sees the glass half full. If you can't get in through the front door, go through the side door. If the side door isn't working, try the window. If the window isn't working, do they have a chimney? Is there a garage? I'm not kidding you. And entrepreneurship is a mindset. It's a mindset that there is a future. But you've got to do it intelligently. Surround yourself with people that you have different skill sets than you do. If you're all exactly the same, you're going to the same direction, right? And so I decided to look at the glass half full. Our customers, the Fortune 500, were laying off people in droves. The consultants told me, lady, this was a really nice project. It's time to close up shop. Here's your liquidation plan in place. And if you know me, or something about me, you know that failure is just not going to happen. But that's when it occurred to me that Pinnacle needs to be something larger than myself. See, I started the company because my family was devastated. I started this company because my father was murdered and left behind an entire 5 children with no life insurance and no future. And so I started the business to help propel my family. But what I realized is nobody's going to join you to help you. You've got to build something larger than yourself and figure out a plan to share the wealth. And so when we were going out of business, it flashed right before me. And I said, you know what? We need to be about purpose. We need to be about recruiting entrepreneurs, about giving people a safe place to come and unleash their entrepreneurial spirit. We need to be builders. We need to be motivators. And we need to have an aspect of contributing back to our community in doing so. And I'll tell you what, I went out and put, this is the best hat you're going to wear, ladies. The CEO hat may be the most prestigious, but the most important hat you're going to wear is your recruiter hat. Your recruiter hat. Who are you recruiting to be at your side? Who is going to value your vision and value your values? And who is going to help you build that? So off I went to recruiting, and I recruited some of the best people I could find in the industry. See, the glass half full, people were getting laid off, and I recruited people and painted a picture larger than themselves. And I said, someday we're going to have our name on the building. Someday we're going to be out of this 800 square foot suite, and we're going to have a whole floor. Someday we're going to be the top company in Dallas. Today, not only do we have our name on the building, today not only do we have the entire floor, but today, Pinnacle is the fastest growing women-owned business in this country. And I take zero credit because it really has to do with people, and that's the next message I want to tell you, ladies. Nobody does anything on their own. Nobody does anything on their own. They do it with a group. Find your tribe, find your team. Hang out with people you respect and you admire. Be like them. Look for sponsors and look for mentors. What is the difference between a sponsor and a mentor? A sponsor will advise you. A mentor will advise you. A mentor will help you. A sponsor will put their political and social capital on your name. Do you see the difference? You got to get people to put your political and social capital on your name. How do you do that? I've got your answer. Who wants to know? Be crazy good at what you do. As women, sometimes we make the mistake of focusing on what we don't do well. You've got straight hair, you want curly hair. You're tall, you want to be short. You're short, you want to be tall. I mean, it's this constant thing with us, right? We want to work on things that we're not so good at. Nonsense, ladies. Look in the mirror. Figure out what you're good at, and then double down on that. Double down and then partner with people that may have those skill sets that you think are important as well, that you know are important. Double down and be crazy good. And don't take my word for it. There's a Gallup study. Actually, it's interesting. I got 20 years of experience, but there's a darn Gallup study that says the same exact thing. It just says it in Harvard speak. Focus, be introspective, focus on what you do well, and you're most likely to succeed. The reality is, when you double down on what you do well, you build a reputation on it. And when you build a reputation on it, you attract mentors. You become this human magnet. Because I'll tell you something, everybody wants to run with a winner. Who doesn't want to run with a winner? And you're going to find people like me and like my sponsors that are very interested in the future of this country, that say, you know what, I'd like to nominate you. I'd like to help you. I'd like to connect you. And that is the story of being crazy good, ladies. Be good at what you do, so good that you build a reputation. Now, how in the world does anybody know who you are when you're sitting in your office day in, day out? The answer is you have to work not just in your business, but on your business. And a great way to do that is to volunteer, to hang out in ecosystems just like this. You do not know who is sitting next to you. In fact, take 2 seconds and introduce yourself if you don't know. Take 2 seconds. Go on, do it. Go do it. I love it. Give yourself a round of applause. Now that wasn't energy. Give yourself a big round of applause. Whoever you met, make sure you're introducing them to someone you know. That's your homework today. Make sure you're introducing them to someone you know. So the story about starting your business, going through tough times, picking yourself up, leveraging innovation, leveraging people, leveraging technology, building the fastest growing women-owned business, check. I want to start with my learnings. My very first learning comes, again, from my mother. You're going to hear a lot about her. She was very unimpressed with all the business success, by the way. Anybody else have a mom like that? Anybody? Anybody? Yes, okay. Very unimpressed. I'd come home to the Thanksgiving table like a big dog. Mom, I've got a $10 million business. Ay, mija, qué lindo. Mom, I've got a $100 million business. Ay, mija, qué lindo. Don't forget to take out the trash. She's just, I thought, unimpressible. I'll never forget when I was first appointed to a publicly traded company board. I'm like, Mom, I'm on the Kohl's board of directors board. She's like, do you get a discount? The Ernst & Young is the most prestigious business entrepreneur award you can win. I called her from the bathroom of the gala, Mom, I won the Ernst & Young. She's like, Ernst & Young? What the hell is that? Okay, so Mother was never impressed with the business success. And one time I just said, look, what can I do to impress you? Like, I've got a college education. By the way, first to go in my family to college. Can I get a snap? I have a college education. I went back and I recruited my brothers and my sisters and we built this vast company and we're doing great. And what does one have to do to impress you, Mother? And her answer changed my life. She said, Nina, you live in the United States of America and you have a college education. Please do not try to impress me with your business success. If you want to impress me, show me what you're doing for others. If you want to impress me, do something for people you don't know. Do something who will never know your name. Take your story, take your leadership, and take your God-given talents, and for the love of God, do something for someone else. And so what started off is impressing my mom really changed my life. And the more successful that Pinnacle gets, the more I want to do what really fuels me, because Pinnacle is a platform for doing good. God has graced us with a lot of incredible business and incredible success, but my life is so much more than workforce solutions. My life is about purpose. It's about giving back. It's about what I didn't tell you about my mother is she never held a job in corporate America. My mother is an advocate, proudly so. She's an activist. This is the woman that I grew up with. She taught me to raise my hand. She taught me to have a voice. She taught me to stand up when I'm told not to. She taught me to go through the chimney. She taught me to speak for others. And she taught me the most important lesson, and that is help other people build a legacy. That's how we'll contribute to this country as immigrants, Nina. And I did. So I'm proud to tell you that I started off raising money for minority students to go to college. And I started recruiting and getting to know like-minded people, and I met some of the most amazing people. Because when you do good, you start meeting like-minded people. And then those people started becoming my friends, my sponsors, my mentors, and yes, my clients. Who would have thought? When you do something good expecting nothing in return, you will be shocked at what the results will be. But if you're doing it for the right reason and the right mindset, I promise you it will come back twofold. My life has been about doubling down, being good, being there, volunteering, and never forgetting where you came from. And I'm proud to say that somebody will listen, and you will find mentors and sponsors. And for me, that sponsor was a woman named Stephanie Valencia, who nominated my name and my story to the President of the United States. You see, she was a staffer at the White House, and they thought enough of my personal story to be named a Presidential Ambassador of Global Entrepreneurship. And President Obama, I was one of 5 women named as a Page Ambassador and had the opportunity to travel the world telling my story. This is when you applause. Come on, girls. And that's okay, too. That was a really big deal for me, and I learned something. I went to Ghana, Africa. I went to Vietnam. I've been to Jordan. I've been to Oman. I've been to Bahrain. I've been to the Middle East, and one thing is for real and for sure. Actually, 2. Number 1, the United States of America is the best country in the world to start a business, bar none. Men or women, minority or not, you gotta love your America. I have come back with a humble appreciation. And number 2, whether I'm in Bahrain or Vietnam or Africa, speaking to groups of women, inspiring them, telling them, raise your hand, be good, be courageous, start your business. I've learned that women start businesses largely, not solely, but largely because they want to help their families. Women don't start businesses to make the money. They start the business to help their family. And 97 cents on the dollar, when a woman goes into her coffers, it goes into her community. And I learned a really powerful thing that Capital One and every corporation understands today. And that is, when you help a woman, not always, but most likely, you're helping a family. And when you help a family, you help a community. And when you help a community, you help a nation. And when you're helping a nation, that's when you can start to change the world. That's why women-owned businesses are important in this country. Because women have changed the world in so many ways, and they'll continue to do so. Did you know that women-owned businesses employed more than the Fortune 500 in 2006? There are 10 million women-owned businesses in this country. We don't have a problem starting the business, ladies. We got this. Where we stumble is in scaling the business. And corporations can help by mentoring and having programs and environments just like these. Because we do need access to capital, we do need access to education, we do need access to a lot of things, but the number one thing we need access to is the access to opportunity. And that's what we're here to do. You know, I'd like to acknowledge Alice one more time because she changed the structure of Startup Week to not just be about startups, but put them in the room with the Fortune 500, put them in the room with the Fortune 1000, and let them mingle. Because ladies, tell me if you agree, all you want is one simple thing, and that's an opportunity. Let's hear it for Alice. Okay, now I want to do some real talk of the learnings because I could go on and on. Being crazy good, raising your hand, being authentic, don't be hammer looking for nails. We talked about all that. Now I want to talk about real talk. Real talk. being a woman in a male-dominated industry, being the only, feeling very small, right? Remember, you're part of a much larger community, and perspective is everything. The way that you view yourself is directly related to who you will become. I used to not tell people I was the CEO. When somebody asked me, are you the CEO? I'm like, why? Do you want a discount? I may have to go talk to her. Hang on, let me go put my accounting hat on. I wore a lot of hats. People often ask me, what did you wish you knew when you were smaller that you didn't know ahead of time? I didn't value the power of small businesses in this country. You are not just a woman-owned business. You're not just a female CEO. Ladies, you are part of something so much bigger. And that can cause some challenges. But the mentality and the perspective that you need to have is that you are part of so much bigger. When somebody asks you who you are and what you do, be proud of the fact that you are one of over 10 million women-owned businesses that took matters into their hands and started their own business because you wanted to build a future. Say it loud and say it proud. I didn't know that when I first started. Did you know that there's certifications that you can get? Search for those ecosystems. But let's talk about real talk. There's some challenges, and I want to talk about how we handle those challenges in building a reputation. I call it finesse. Because you see, sometimes I'm a lot of things. I think they said somewhere in my bio, you know I like to swim, bike, and run, preferably in the same hour, so I'm a triathlete. I'm a CEO, I'm a corporate director, I'm a presidential ambassador, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm an aunt, but I'm not a grandma. Not yet. I'm a lot of things, but my favorite thing to be is underestimated. And here's where my real talk happens, ladies. Okay, so people judge you. You can't help it. They're going to judge you. You can't help that. In fact, people will judge you 7 seconds statistically after they see you. You just have to make sure that they are not judging you for the color of your skin or whether you're a man or you're a woman. You have to get them to judge you for your human potential. But unconscious bias is real, and it's gonna happen. I'm here to tell you, has it happened to any one of you? I hear some snaps maybe, okay. It is not what happens to you in life, it is how you handle it. I'm telling you, my mother always said, a toda hora y todo momento con elegancia y distinción. Translation, please. Every hour, at every day, at every moment, in every situation, with elegance and class, please. Okay? Women do not react. They respond. It's really important that when we're in those situations of unconscious bias, that we react with class. And I call it finesse. Let me give you an example. It is hard enough. There are only 13% of women that sit on publicly traded company boards. If you're one of those 13%, God love you. And then if you're a minority, that drops down to 9. And then if you're Latina like me, it drops down to -2. 2%. So 2% of Latinas sit on publicly traded company boards. So I'm on this board, and I'm on the audit committee, and I'm on a conference call, and I've got it on speaker, and I'm in my office building, and I'm getting ready for the call. I've over-prepared. I know my stuff. I am ready. I may be the youngest, but man, I'm over-prepared. I'm crazy good at what I do, and I've earned my spot here. And we hear a vacuum cleaner in the background. And somebody said, Nina, is that you? As the only female on that committee. Now, I paused the speakerphone for about half a second, which is about the time you have to react. Okay? And then I graciously unpaused it, and I said, no, Bob, that's impossible. At my house, a man does that. Finesse. Finesse. And you know what I did? Every meeting after that, I sat next to Bob. Because you see, President Reagan had it right. One of his most famous sayings, or my famous, he said, I do not like that man. I need to spend more time with him. Okay? Allow people to see you. allow people to know you. Do not be afraid. Do not let that unconscious bias have you run away. You write right towards it. You write right towards it. Because look, haters are going to hate, okay, until they get to know you. Then you'll need new haters because the old ones will start to like you. Finesse, finesse, finesse. Let me give you another example. Sometimes it happens between us ladies, between us women. I had 4 children in 6 years. I proudly breastfed all of them. All 4 for 6 months. I gotta get a snap at least. Okay, so I'm traveling the country. I'm building a business. I got my head down. I'm pumping in public restrooms. Somebody walked up to me once and said, "Are you okay? What is that noise coming out of you?" And then I started using the family bathrooms in the airports. I don't know if you've ever seen them, the family bathrooms in the airports. Okay, so I used the private family bathroom. I'm coming out of a flight. I swing door the open, and there's a woman with a stroller with her hand on her hip, and she said, "Excuse me, lady, but these bathrooms are reserved for people with families." That's what we want to do. That's what we want to do. Finesse. A woman doesn't react, she responds. I wanted, just wring her neck, but I didn't. That's what I wanted to do, so it requires discipline. And I walked away. I just said, "I'm sorry," and I looked down and I walked away with my big, you know what it looks like, that black briefcase looking thing. And then I went to my gate, and she was on my flight. Oh my God, I gotta face this woman. She's probably sitting in first class and I'm not. And I thought, oh my Lord, she's on my flight. And I thought about it and I thought about it. A woman doesn't react, she responds. And I got the courage to walk up to her. And I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, I really appreciated what you had to say to me. However, I want you to know that I'm a young entrepreneur, I'm a young mother, this is my 2nd child, and I was trying to feed my family." I explained it to her calmly and elegantly, and she looked at me and she said, "I am so sorry." And she gave me a hug, and we flew back to Dallas. So how you react matters. I didn't know what was going on in her life. For all I knew, her hair was on fire, and she had things going on in her life. And so before we react, we have to think of what's going on in other people's worlds. And with kindness and with elegance, we're going to get far better results. Sometimes we think women aren't helping us, but they're helping us in a different way. I've had some of the most challenging moments with women that have interviewed me toughly, that have treated me harshly, and I think every time I think they're not helping me, they really are. You know why? Bring on the pressure, because that's how diamonds are made, okay? And sometimes women want to bring out the best in you. I had a woman clobber me in an interview, and I ended up getting the position. And I went and asked her after I was her colleague. I sat right next to her, and I said, "Can I ask you a question, Lillian? Why were you so mean to me?" And she said, "Because I wanted to bring out the best in you. And I didn't know how else to convince the men other than to show them." So ladies, let's support each other. Let's support each other. Let's help each other. Let's nominate each other. Let's connect each other. Let's work together. The last thank you. Okay, last learning, I'm running out of time, but I'm going to answer every single one of your questions because I know I left a lot of the business stuff. But I'm so eager to tell you what I've learned. This one's really important. It's about the long game. You got to think of the long game. I'm going to give you a piece of advice. I've said it 1,000 times to maybe 1,000 women, and I'm going to say it again. Do not beat yourself up, ladies. Somebody else will gladly do that for you. And as women, we beat ourselves up. By the way, these are life lessons that I'm talking about. How in the world do you parlay those into business? I promise you they're the same thing. Promise you they're the same thing. Do not beat yourself up. A long time ago, in building the business, I can't tell you how many Valentine's Day parties I missed. I used to kill myself taking red eyes back and forth to LA. You know, as mothers, we want to be crazy good and we want to be there for our children. I used to make homemade Halloween costumes, sew them. Really? I used to wake up at 5 in the morning and bake the cookies so I wouldn't have to show up with the store-bought cookies. You know, how many times did you rip off your business suit and put on some like Lululemon to go to the this kid's school? I would just beat myself up trying to, hide the fact that I was hustling, working hard every single day. And one day I said, enough. I'm going to forgive myself. Because, ladies, God made us in an imperfect way. We are not perfect. Newsflash, neither am I. I tried to be the perfect mom. And oftentimes I would fail and I would beat myself up until I realized it's about the long game. Ladies, it's about the long game. There's nothing more powerful than a silent example. And I started focusing on showing my children resiliency, showing them hard work, showing them what it feels like to build, to motivate others, and to lead. And you know what? That has had a powerful effect. Because my oldest daughter, before she could drive, she'd been to Costa Rica, Cuba, and the Ecuadorian Amazon on mission trips. She didn't have a driver's license, but she can get on a plane to a third world country and help. And today, I'm proud to say I'm a mother of a college student. Freshman year at the University of Texas at Austin. And she's getting a degree in leadership. Who does that? So don't beat yourself up. You're building your business. You're going to miss the Valentine's dance. You're going to miss a lot of stuff. I'm missing Mother's Day weekend for the Zetas because I'll be in Chile in the global expansion for Pinnacle. It's killing me. It's not about the quantity. It's about the quality. And as women, we need to be confident and secure. Confidence is the best outfit you can wear. Be proud of what you're showing your daughters because your unspoken word and your hard work is going to shine through. I promise they're going to be talking about you the way I talk about my mother. So I want to wrap up, and I want to wrap up with how you view yourself. Bring it full circle. You see, as women, sometimes, statistically, we want to be perfect. We don't apply for the job unless we meet all the criteria, except men meet half of it and apply for the same job and get it. Okay? So we need to be more confident about raising our hand and throwing yourself in there and figuring it out. Paula said to me this morning, we were setting up, we were building the airplane as we were flying. It's okay. It's okay to not have every single answer. It's okay. That's what entrepreneurship is about. It's about figuring it out and having the confidence to raise your hand and get it done. I want you to see yourself as more than who you are individually. I want you to see yourself as the powerhouse of this country. Corporations are starting to figure out that 85% of the business decisions and the purchasing decisions in the household belong to a woman. GameStop CEO said, the client are the mothers, not the gamers, it's the mom. And I thought, oh yeah, I have 2 sons. That's right. We're making 85% of the purchasing decisions, yet we're only 13% of the boardroom. Women, this is my argument for having women be not only in the corporate boardroom, but be in the higher seats of power in our legislative lawmaking. Because we don't just bring our gender, we bring our personal experience. The pumping story I told you at Pinnacle, oh yeah, we've got nursing rooms. We've got pumping rooms. My personal experience has brought to the business. So we don't just show up with our gender, we show up with our intellect. We show up with our personal experience, and we can make change as a result of that. If you don't believe me, when Kohl's spun the Spanx opening, I was the only board member who had experience. All the men said, what's that? I said, ask your wife. And boy, was it a bestseller. Okay, so again, I want to close with my father's words. He used to always say to me, Nina, ocupa tu lugar. Translation, know your place. He would tell me that when I would cry, he'd get really upset with me, go, Nina, ocupa tu lugar, ocupa tu lugar. He would always say that in every circumstance. When I was disappointed, when I was unhappy, he'd always tell me, ocupa tu lugar, know your place. As women, we have to know what our place is, okay? Our place is not just in the house. a woman's place is in the Senate, it's in the Congress, and hopefully one day in the highest place of the land. And we need to own it. Sometimes we don't own our leadership. I look up to a woman who can stand up and say, I'm a leader. I wouldn't have said that. And in fact, I'll tell you a little secret, and I promise there's a close. Monday was my birthday. It wasn't a big birthday, but it was a birthday. And it made me realize that I have a lot more years behind me than I do ahead of me. Then I need to focus on the next generation. And I woke up and I was in New York City, and my sister had a t-shirt on my suitcase. And I looked at the t-shirt and I said, I would never, ever buy this for myself. Oh my gosh, I cannot wear this. But I put it on and it fit. And I said to her, why did you buy me that? I would never buy something like that for myself. And she said, because it fits. And it inspired me to tell you that story today, that as women, we don't say we're leaders. We're very humble by nature, and please do be humble. But we've got to own our space. It's okay to be a leader. It's okay to say we're a leader. It's okay to tell people we're the TFO. The fucking owner. I'm just saying, if you're looking for titles, okay, I'm just saying, it's okay. It's okay. Use it with finesse. I usually tell people in a crowded room when a man comes up to me and says, what do you do for the company? I usually say, oh, I work for Pinnacle, but there are times where I just got to pull out the TFO, okay? It's all about finesse. Own your space. And my sister said to me, Nina, you're a visionary. You are a visionary. So today, loud and proud, I'm wearing my birthday gift. I never would have worn this if it weren't for another woman egging me on. Ladies, let's be that other woman. Have an incredible conference, connect with people, know your space, and raise your hand and be crazy good. Thank you so much.
So when I was growing up, my parents were not transparent with their failures. Mm-hmm. So how do you kind of skirt that line between showing your kids success and failure and protecting them?
You know what? Who's seen Nemo, the movie Nemo? That's my answer. If nothing happens to you, nothing's gonna happen to you, right? You've got to be transparent with them. Listen, I didn't get to the Pinnacle story, but there's been a lot of failures, and my children know all about them. Yeah, Mommy made a bad decision today. We invested in a software. They may not know what that is, but they know Mommy made a bad you've got to be transparent. You are not protecting them if you don't help them. And let me tell you something. Who I am is because of adversity. And we try to protect our kids from adversity. Did you ever stop to think that maybe it's that little adversity that made me who I am today? So give them a little adversity.
Thank y'all. Thank you.
That's it.